talk about other stuff that's not Star Wars in a world between fandoms. Tururiru, tururiru. It's Last of Us time, Oti. Only thing I'm gonna say before I give you the podium is those were a very intense first 30 minutes. For someone that knows nothing about the games of the show like myself, very intense 30 minutes. But tell me, Oti, you're a fan of the show, you're a fan of the movie, I mean of the game.
The game.
I gotta ask first, was it faithful to what you expected, and how much did you love it?
I adored it. Like, it's the kind of show I decided I already love the entire
Mhm.
season because I know what the story is and I saw how they adapted this first chapter, I guess.
Mhm.
And I loved it. And I'm like, yeah, they're gonna do a great job doing the rest. And they had some of the hardest moments in this episode with what you mentioned, that first
Yeah.
30 minutes. Um One of my favorite things about the show so far are the changes they made actually.
Okay.
It's pretty faithful to the story, and the changes, they promised that the changes would be to enhance the story and to make some beats stronger, and so far I see what they're doing. There are some things
Okay.
that I don't really get that we can get into, but it's some things I really really like.
All right. Yeah, and we'll get into it. I was going to mention because you and a lot of people were they finally adapted a video game to the screen. It makes sense. Yes, hooray, we're there. And I'm like, it's only been one episode. Can you already be that that sure that this is going to hit for the next 7 to 8 weeks? And you think that if they were able to do that, adapt this part of the story so far, what comes next, it should all hit. Are you're confident in that? At least hoping for that.
For this season, there are some
Okay.
things in the second game that I'm like, I really want to see how they do it because it can polarize, to say something.
Okay, I'm gonna highlight this comment by Mo real quick and then follow with my own kind of an anecdote. Mo says that Last of Us was good, didn't play the game, but that she's hooked. And I mentioned this before we started. So I watched it when it dropped off, of course, on Sunday. Then a few days ago, I think Friday, I rewatched it with my wife. She's not a fan of
Okay.
zombie shows, anything that being chased. So she wasn't too happy to kind of sit down and watch it, but she said, okay, I'll give it a shot. And everything too weird, I'll just kind of look away or just watch for the background. And she sat through all of it after some of the scenes when during the city and hell goes, everything breaks loose, and we get the first infected running. Then she was, okay, this might not be for me. But then it jumps those 20 years and we get a different type of show. And she was hooked. She was fine with it. And she's like, yeah, it wasn't as bad as I expected. I think she will keep watching. And hopefully it's something that more people that are not fans of the show, I mean, of the game, can still appreciate this new show.
So I talked to my parents because my dad loves zombies, but my mom doesn't like gore and that kinds of things. So they asked me, like, should your mom watch it? And I'm like, so it's kind of like a cliche, but The Last of Us is not about zombies. And they are there. They will be a presence. We will have scary sequences with them and gory sequences with them. But the most important thing to remember about this show, this is the story about Ellie and Joel and their relationship. That's what the story is. And that was my biggest fear with this show. And just by this episode, I know it's not going to go in that direction, but I was terrified that they were going to lean into the action and the horror, and which would have been cool, but that's not what the story is. And that's why I'm so confident with them, because the director of the show is involved. So he directed one episode and he's writing the show. He's a co-creator. So I'm very confident on what they're doing. And again, I love the first episode.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons I've kind of fallen away a little from zombie shows. I used to be a Walking Dead fan till about season 7 or season 8, and then it just became repetitive to me. It's the same thing. And I've heard it's gotten better. But it's like...
Because at first with Walking Dead, it was a very character focused show. We got, those episodes where zombies were the main focus. But then it kind of shifted and it was weird and characters were
Yeah,
dying off and actors didn't want to continue. It got weird and I
yeah,
dropped off
and
as well.
that's when my thought of saying I hate it when now shows go for 8, 9, 10 seasons because they just keep rethreading the same thing. That's when I said I prefer shows to be 4 to 5 because they lose their way. So coming back now to a new zombie show, I'm like, is this gonna be the same? I don't want to get
It's
into
not.
it, but
It's not.
and I love hearing that. And the first episode was great. I hope it continues. Pedro Pascal, what can you say? Great actor.
It was great.
I'm not gonna say that the only thing he changed in 20 years was he got a little bit of gray hairs. Everything else was the same. I like you're not
But
36. I'm sorry, you're not 36.
I appreciated that they didn't do the prosthetics. Like they just grayed out his hair, and he's like, "Yeah, this is Joel 20 years later. Like, it's fine."
Yeah, get a little bit more beard, a little bit more gray hairs, but
I want to see him
love.
grow out that beard because Joel
Yeah,
has.
I've
Like,
seen this. I'm surprised by, and we'll talk a little bit more about the show, but at the end, after the credits, we usually get a little preview of the next episode. But they did a longer one
they
for the
didn't do
whole
it.
season. They did, yeah, at the end, they did a longer one for what to expect on Last of Us.
Did you watch it the day it dropped?
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
interestingly, this happened to me with House of Dragon that if I play it at the time it drops, I don't get that clip. I have to like refresh it.
It was probably like an hour afterwards. I say it wasn't right at 9. It was a little bit later. So I was surprised because a lot of this first episode is Joel trying to know where his brother is. Is he alive? He's been out there for 3 weeks. What's going on? When we got that little preview at the end, there's a scene with him and he's back. He's alive. He's like, okay. I kind of guess he was going to be alive, but don't show me that already.
Yeah, so that's one of the changes that I'm very interested in because in the game, Tommy and Joel haven't seen each other in years, in long years. And they don't have a bad relationship. They just have an estranged relationship.
Okay.
And he's not trying to find Tommy. And in this show, that's one of his motivations. So in the game, finding Tommy is part of how the story evolves, and it's something that he has to do because of how the story evolves, not something that he's wanting to do. So for me, that was very, very interesting because as I mentioned at the beginning, Tommy takes a more prominent role later on. So I kind of think they're setting that up because in the second game, when Tommy takes a more protagonical role, it's kind of weird because like you were just there in the first game. Like, what are you doing now? I'm supposed to care about you. So I kind of like that, but I'm very interesting to see what they're setting up because I'm not very sure.
Yeah, and I didn't catch it the first time, but then when I rewatched it, he tells the leader of the Fireflies, "Oh, you played Tommy against me or something." So I'm guessing has to do something with the Fireflies because Joel doesn't want to be part of the Fireflies. Tell me to seek the light, and I'll punch your lights out or whatever. I love that.
I'll knock your jaw off or something. Yeah, so we get like the main tension of the factions. It's the Fireflies against Fedra. Fedra's what's left of the government. And so Fireflies, some people think they're terrorists. People like Joel just thinks they're crazy.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, restoring order? Like, who cares?
Yeah, at this point, we don't need a government, or it's not going to work.
He's like, oh, whatever.
Yeah. I love the explanation for the outbreak. It's not a virus. Like everything has to be a virus. It's not a bacteria. It's this fungus that takes over your mind. And I've seen those. I've seen all the nature programs with the ants that get the little antenna that grows and they die because they're being manipulated. The zombie ants. So I love that explanation. At that point, I said, okay, this is going to be a different type of zombie show. But like you saying,
I love that scene. I love that scene.
And for Scary Scuttlebutt, thanks for joining us. He said one of the things he's not a fan of zombie shows, even though he calls it This Is Us, which is a totally different show. Well, that's fine. But it's hopefully not too focused on zombies, but we'll see. What were some of the things? Because you said that there's some things that threw you off or you weren't too big a fan of. Anything?
No. I loved everything. No, I love the changes they made. Like, and what threw me off is that I don't know what's gonna happen with the whole Tommy thing, for example.
Okay,
but and they actually fixed some things. How Tommy and how Joel and Ellie meet it's a little bit different because in the game they kill Robert, and they're
Mm.
like, oh, now we gotta find fireflies, and Marlene is like right around the corner. She's like, oh, I'm here. Like, you were just standing there.
Yeah,
Here
I
it
mean,
was
it's a
little bit
video
more
game.
organic.
That's the way it works
Yeah.
in video games. You can't have it the same way. But again, those first 30 minutes were so intense, from how they tell you what's going to happen to how it slowly starts building up. Because I'm used to zombie shows. You're in there, yeah, there's zombies, you're dead. But like I was watching it with my wife, it's anything has to do with kids or old people getting weirded out. It's already creepy. And seeing the grandma just in the background, out of focus, just
That was very
shaking.
creepy.
Oh no, what's going on? Don't kill the
And-
dog. The dog was fine, but oh man, those, and then getting shot at the end. Poor her daughter getting shot. It's like, oh man, why are we
Sarah,
doing this? Yeah.
They did something that House of the Dragon did. That spoilers for House of the Dragon, but the episode where Luke dies, and they give us 2 scenes with Rhaenyra and Luke setting up their relationship.
Yeah, you know.
And they did the same thing here, because in the game starts with Sarah waking up when she hears the bombs and everything, and
yeah.
So here they start the story a little bit earlier that day, and they give us all these Sarah scenes. And I'm like, these assholes, like they know what they're doing.
Yeah, I knew she wasn't going to survive, because I know this story doesn't involve her. At least I know that part, and all the trailers, I know she's not there. So okay, she's gonna die. But the way she dies, like, she's not infected. Like, it's not, and you know it's gonna happen, because when he gets on his radio, oh, it's an ankle. She's not hurt. Are you sure? It's like, oh crap, you gotta kill them.
Yeah, that moment where Tommy goes like, Joel, like, it doesn't look good.
Yeah,
it's heartbreaking. But I just want to mention, I know a lot of people that thought that Sarah was Ellie, like, from the promo. Yeah. They're not very in tune. They don't watch the trailers. They just see Neo HBO show and they watch it. So they were floored by that scene. They were like, they killed her? I thought she was the main character.
And again, that's good, because now you have no idea what's going to happen. All right, so really enjoy the first episode. Really interested to see where the story is going. Again, for myself that don't know anything about it, same thing for you, I guess, because they're changing a few things. And even then, it's still interesting to see what happens.
I am very, very excited for the rest.
All right. And with that, I think we can start wrapping today off. Thanks, as always, for being here. I gotta say, where can people find you out there? Yeah.
Okay, people can find me over at Twitter and Instagram and Hive, which I'm apparently still on at EP Estaduars.
We're still there. We'll be back next week talking the Bad Batch, any news as drops, and who knows, maybe we'll figure out a new segment or something. Where are you on? Go ahead.
I haven't moved forward that much. I've had a busy week, but let's talk High Republic next week. Let's do it.
You sure? I was gonna give you till the end of the month before Mando starts to do.
Give me until the end of the month, then.
There you go. Mando starts in March 1st, so that Saturday before March 1st, we'll do our High Republic kind of recap. You got a month and a half, or 5 weeks, I think you have.
Yeah, that's enough. That's enough. I'm almost done with Convergence.
There you go.
I think I'm like 100 pages
almost
out.
Okay, it's not too bad.
No.
All right, so let me put this there. Thanks to everyone for joining us.
Go
Thanks
Cowboys
for being here. Go Cowboys tomorrow. Today the Jaguars are playing, which is my other team. Hopefully they're doing fine. They're playing right now. It was 7-7 when I left. Hopefully they're still in the game. Thank you, Roberto, for being here. Thank you, Mo, Scotty, Scuttle Thought, Brenner, and Wookie Talk. Thanks to everyone for being here today. We'll see you next week. And as always, stay safe, be safe, and may the force be with you.